Good morning, Grace Harbor, and whoever else might be listening. We are in day 29 of January, and we are finishing our second book of the Old Testament, Genesis.
Yay!
Yay! Congratulations if you've persevered, and I hope you continue to persevere through it. So today we'll be looking at chapters 48, 49, and 50. And 48 opens with Joseph finding out that his dad is sick and about to die, and so he comes in and he gets a blessing first from his dad and then his sons. But it's a first mention here in this chapter of redeemed, where Jacob is sharing with Joseph about how God was his shepherd and redeemed him. And so shepherd and redeemed are both new to us, or the first mention of those. And then Jacob, or Israel, blesses Joseph's sons, and that's kind of interesting.
Joseph brings his two sons, Manasseh, the oldest, Ephraim, the youngest. And as tradition goes, the oldest is usually blessed first, and then the younger. And Joseph positions his sons so that Manasseh should be on Jacob's right hand and Ephraim on his left. But when Isaac goes to bless them, he crosses his hands and begins the blessing. And Joseph actually is a little upset about this, and he tries to move his father's hands back to the right child. And Jacob says, no, for the younger will be over the older. And the blessing continues, and we see also that later he tells Joseph that he's going to get a double portion over his brothers. Well, that double portion is through these two sons.
So in chapter 49, the blessings get continued as Jacob gives blessings to all 12 of his sons before he dies.
Yeah, and I was telling Janice, some of these don't really sound like blessings to me, but if you look at them in the light that they're intended, it becomes clear. In fact, you heard a resource this week that pertained to this, so let's talk about that.
Okay. As I was driving in the car, I heard Pastor Colin Smith from openthebible.org, and he was teaching on chapter 49 about the blessings. And he was describing the blessings. Well, first he said a blessing is to speak the truth in love with discernment. He went on to share that he said the first two sons' blessings, they were blessed to be warned, because they had sinned and forfeited their first place position, I guess, in the family. And it was a warning to not let sin come between you and what God is wanting to do in your life. The second group, Zebulun and Issachar, were blessed to be challenged, that they would do what God was leading them to do wholeheartedly and not just coast on what they felt like was that they were okay. And that's a good caution for us as well. Mm-hmm. And then the third group were blessed to be encouraged. That was Dan, Gad, Asher, and Naphtali, to be encouraged to press on in what God was calling them to do. The fourth were blessed to be honored, and that was Joseph and Benjamin. And we see
Jacob's favorites.
Yeah, but we see them honored. And in chapter 50, the last chapter, we see Joseph, his dad has died, and this entourage goes back to Canaan to bury Jacob. And then they come back, and the brothers are concerned. Mm-hmm. What's going on?
The brothers are concerned that Joseph may take retaliation against them because they sold him into slavery. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of, he's the number 2 guy in all of Egypt. Mm-hmm. And so they hatched this plan where they said, Dad wanted us to let you know that he really wanted you to forgive us completely and not to take any grudge against us for what has happened to you. And this grieves Joseph greatly. He actually weeps over this and says, no, you don't understand. All that's been forgotten. And what you meant for evil, God meant for good. Yeah. He sent me here so that a remnant of Israel would be saved.
Right, right. And it's also the first place we see forgiveness. In Genesis is him forgiving. He says, do not be afraid. As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good in order to bring about this present result, to preserve many people alive, like you said. Mm-hmm. So looking back, we see Joseph's life had a lot of hard in it. He was sold by his own brothers. Prison. He was betrayed. Yeah. He was forgotten. And yet God was working through all of those difficulties to bring about this result, that this remnant would be saved. So, Book of Genesis is covered about 2,300 years-ish.
Yes, and the United States is only about 250 years long. So it kind of gives you a perspective of the time frame.
And we're just now getting into Exodus. We have a lot more history between the end of Genesis and America, for sure. To sum it up, we've had 4 key events: creation, the fall, the flood, and the Tower of Babel. And we've had 4 patriarchs: Abraham, whom God gave the promise of a redeemer to, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph.
And that'll about sum it up for Genesis. And I hope you'll come back and join us for Exodus beginning tomorrow. And we look forward to what we're going to learn together as we continue to read through the Word in a year. So join us again here at Set Sail with Grace Harbor. We'll see you tomorrow.